Hello, my crafty friends. Well, today we are going to continue talking about the Step It Up technique. So the Step It Up technique really just involves taking a basic card design and then stepping it up to create additional designs. So today I'm going to show you how to do that. Hi, it's Lynn Dunn from Stamptastic Designs. Thanks so much for joining me today. In this episode of Stamptastic TV, I have 3 different card ideas that feature the Step It Up technique. Now, these cards feature a brand new stamp set that will be coming out in January of 2021. So the stamp set is called Darling Donkeys, and it actually is a Sale-A-bration stamp set, which means it's free, or you can choose it for free with a $50 purchase. Now, Sale-A-bration starts January 5th of 2021, and so does the new mini catalog. So that means we have a lot more products that will be coming our way starting in the new year. What a great way to start the new year. Anyways, so back to these card designs. So these cards feature the images from that particular stamp set, and I'm going to show you how to start out with this basic card design, and then we're going to step it up to create 2 additional cards. And one of the cards is actually a little pop-up fun fold type of card, and it's super simple to do, so I'll show you how to do that. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so to be able to use the Step It Up technique, you of course need a basic card design to work with. So you can choose any card design, any one of your favorites, to use this technique. So I'm going to choose this particular card design. So it's a very basic design, and this card is very easy to make. So let me show you how to make this one, and then I will show you how to take this design and step it up to create 2 additional cards. Okay, so before we get into talking about the design, I'm actually going to create the focal point first, just so that we can get that out of the way. I'm using the same focal point for each of the cards that I'm sharing with you today. So it features just one of the little images from the Darling Donkey stamp set. And I'm just going to do a little bit of coloring with some stamping blends. And I'm sharing this technique with you because there's a fun little way that you can use your stamping blends to do some shading. So stamping blends are my favorite little marker to use for coloring and shading my images. So I'm just going to start out here just by coloring. I'm using some ivory stamping blend, and I just have a little piece of paper behind my image here just so that it doesn't leak through onto the table. Now, the stamping blends come in 2 different shades typically. So I have a dark shade, which is what I'm using right now, just to kind of highlight different parts of my image. And then I'm going to use the light shade just to kind of fill it all in and start that blending process. All right, and here is the light shade. So this is Smoky Slate. And you can see I'm just kind of coloring this in and pulling in color from the edges of that dark Stampin' Blend that I used. So I kind of went around this image with the darker color. Now I'm kind of pulling it with this lighter color. Now the image is stamped with some black Memento ink, so I recommend that ink for using the stamping blends. So once you have the image all colored in, then you can use what's called a color lifter. And you can just kind of go around and use it almost like a blender. It'll just start to lighten up the image a little bit, especially in those areas where you have that darker coloring. And it just seems to really blend it a lot nicer. Okay, so this is the focal point that we will be using for all 3 of the cards. So the coloring that I did on all the cards is exactly the same, so I'm only going to show it to you once. And I just stamped the image on a little square shape, so I'm using the stitched shape dies to create this. You can just use a regular square shape if you don't have the dies. So I would recommend about a 2.5 by 2.5 inch piece of cardstock to create your square shape. And then I just did a little stamping with my greeting on here in using Bermuda Bay ink. Okay, so we're going to set that aside for the moment. So we're actually going to start with a piece of pool party cardstock for the base of our card. Next, you're just going to cut a piece of pattern paper at 2 inches wide by 5.5 inches, so it runs the full length of the card here. And we'll just adhere that off to the left-hand side of the card front. Okay, next we're just going to adhere the focal point that I created. So I just have a couple dimensionals on the back, so I'm just gonna pop this up on the card and we'll put it kind of towards the top here. And then for the finishing touch, I'm just going to add a little piece of twine on the bottom here, just to kind of dress up the card a little bit. And then you can trim off the excess with your scissors. Okay, so how adorable is this little card? And it's really simple. As you can see, this is a very simple and basic design. You can certainly add additional embellishments if you wanted, but I decided to keep it super simple. Okay, the second card design that I have right here is actually very similar to this first card design. So I did make some general modifications to this card to step it up. Let me show you how to create this stepped up version of our first card. Okay, so you're again going to start with a piece of pool party cardstock for the base of your card. Then you're going to cut a 5.25 by 4-inch piece of pool party cardstock, so it's the same color as the base. And then I just did a little embossing on here with a brand new embossing folder. You can use any embossing folder that you have on hand. So we'll just go ahead and adhere this to our card front. So this just gives it a little bit of texture, a little depth and dimension. And then this time I cut a 5.25 by 2-inch piece of pattern paper. So instead of cutting a 5.5-inch piece, I shortened it up a little bit. So this is 5.25 inches long, 2 inches wide. And then I just created a little banner on the bottom here. And so we'll go ahead and adhere this to the left side of our card front. Next, I created the same focal point. So this is the exact same design that I used on the first card, same image and everything. And we are going to use that to embellish this card. So we'll just pop this up. This is adhered with a couple dimensionals. And then of course, for the finishing touch, we will just add another little bit of twine here that's tied into a bow. And I'm just using a glue dot to adhere that twine. Okay. So there is card number 2. So let me bring back card number 1. So here's our basic card. This is the design that we started with. And then here is our stepped up version that has a little bit more texture and a little bit more design to it. Okay, so let's move on to the third card. Okay, for the third card, I decided to really step it up. So we're still going to be using the same focal point and the same kind of decorations for the card. Same pattern paper, except for this time I decided I was going to create a little pop-up card. So I'm taking this focal point here and I'm just expanding it and using the rest of the images in the set to create this fun little pop-up section. So as you can see, laying all these side by side, the design is very similar. I just made some slight modifications. So let me show you how to make this pop-up card. Okay, so for this card, we're actually just going to use a 5.5 by 4.25 inch piece of pool party cardstock. So this is not a card that opens. This doesn't open because we have a pop-up section here. So this is just a piece of cardstock. This is your card front without the back. I guess that's the best way to put it. So next we're going to add a 5.25 by 4-inch piece of pattern paper, and this is just going to go right on that base piece here. Next you're going to cut a piece of pool party cardstock. I just used a scrap piece, so it doesn't matter how wide it is. It just has to be 4 inches long. And I just did a little bit of paper tearing, so I'm just going to tear a piece off of here. And then this piece will just get adhered to the bottom of the card. Okay, so that's what the base of the card looks like. So we're just gonna set this aside for now. And now we're gonna create this fun fold pop-up section. Okay, so you're going to start with a piece of pool party cardstock cut at 3 by 9 inches. And so you will score this piece of cardstock on that 9-inch side at 3 and 6 inches. And then you're just going to accordion fold it together. so that you create this pop-up section. Next, you're going to cut 3 square pieces. So you're going to use the exact same square shape that we used to create the basic design. So these are approximately 2.5 by 2.5 inches. Then you can go ahead and adhere all the squares to each of the 3 sections that are on this piece of cardstock here. And then I used the same type of images for this particular card. So this is our front image. It matches the other cards. So I'm going to put him on the front. And then there's 3 different images in the set, in the Darling Donkeys set. So I'm just going to take the second image and just adhere it on this second area. And I colored these all exactly the same. So I used the same colors that I did on the other 2 cards. And then this third image, we're just going to pop him up. And now we're just going to go ahead and stamp all of these different sayings on our little pieces here. So we'll start out over here with "Hey there, friend." And then this middle one, I'm just using a different greeting. This one says "hee-haw." And then the last one is "You're the best." So basically when it folds up, it says, "Hey there, friend. Hee-haw, you're the best." Isn't that cute? It's so adorable. Okay, let me show you how to put this together now. So we'll bring back the base of the card, and I'm just accordion folding this up with all of my images in there. And we are going to add some glue right to the back section here. So we'll just get that all set to go. And then we'll add it right to our card base. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to do is just add a little bow to the front, just to kind of keep it in line with the decorations that I put on the other card. Okay, so there you go. Now we have a really adorable little pop-up card. Now, of course, this card is super cute with these darling little donkeys, but you can go ahead and use any supplies that you have on hand to create this little pop-up section. It's a pretty easy fun fold card idea. All right, so here is what the cards all look like side by side, and you can see the slight modifications that were made to these first 2 cards, but the focal point is the same on all 3 cards. This one has a few more modifications, but I thought it was kind of fun to create a little pop-up section and still kind of carry the theme of the first 2 cards into this last one. Okay, so there you go. Now you know how to use the Step It Up technique in your card making. So just find your favorite basic kind of card design, create one of those, and then step it up to create 2 additional cards. And if you enjoyed these card ideas, feel free to download the printable tutorial. You can find the link in the description below this video. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by liking it and sharing it with your friends. And leave me a comment below to let me know what you enjoyed most about the video and the cards shared here today. Have a fun and creative day, my friends. Take care.